1. The center of gravity of the Earth. If, for example, you observe any stone or any other regular or irregular lump, it will soon become apparent that its center of gravity is not equally evident on all parts of it. In particular, you can see this most easily with a somewhat misshapen wooden peg by placing it on water, where it will always sink its center of gravity deepest into the water. This would be the second point, which everyone can easily find with every object. The third point of a body is its real center, which, however, is never to be confused with the center of gravity of a body. And therefore every body has two centers, namely one of gravity and one of its physical measure. You may also examine bodies of whatever kind, and you will never find that the center of gravity and the center of the body measure coincide completely in one. Not even with a perfectly mathematically correct cast metal sphere. And that because absolutely no body consists of such perfectly equal parts, according to which the center of gravity could coincide with the actual center of the body measure in completely one. If, for example, you take pure steel as one of the most solid metal bodies of all metals, break such a steel bar in two, you will easily recognize the crystalline structure at the white fracture, which will appear to the unaided eye to be strikingly uniform. But observe with a microscope, this fracture surface will get an appearance like the sight of one discovering all kinds of larger and smaller elevations from a high mountain below. But if such a difference can be perceived in the crystalline structure of one of the most solid metal bodies, how much greater is such a difference with those far less solid bodies, whose crystalline structure is often easily perceptible to the naked eye, between large and small, dense and less dense. And it is therefore all the more perfectly true that the center of gravity and the center of the body measure can never coincide. This principle could also be seen very easily by everyone in the preparation of a carriage. Someone should construct a perfectly mathematically even wagon beam from metal of as much the same density as possible. Then hang it in the wagon fork, and he will see for himself that even with such a highly mathematically correct evenness, the two wagon beams, or rather, the two parts of the same wagon beam, will never form a perfectly horizontal plane, but one will suggest something to the other, and the manufacturer of the scale will then have to come to the aid of the scale beam, either on one side or on the other, with a file or with a hammer. The cause of this, of course, lies in the above principle. But as this relation is therefore evident with all bodies, so it is all the more at home with those bodies which did not receive a form by human hands, but which my power has formed in such a way, as they must be formed in order to exist. Therefore, the centre of gravity and the centre of measure cannot be thought of on one and the same level as positive and negative polarity. You will certainly ask, how is this to be understood? But there I ask you just about it instructively. Why are the two poles of a magnet rod not found in its mathematical centre, but only mostly at the two ends of such rod? Why is the germ tube of a seed not in the centre of the seed, but mostly only on one part of the seed, while the centre and the opposite pole of the germ tube are usually located 1 to 3/4 parts of the entire seed body content further inward and outward from the germ tube? Why does neither man nor any animal not have the heart in its measured centre? See, from these questions it is already self-explanatory that the centre of gravity of a body is something quite different from its dimensional centre. If it is about the revelation of the centre of the earth, then by it not so much the measure centre, as rather the actual life or centre of gravity of the earth is to be understood. Because a revelation of the mere measure centre of the earth would be exactly regarded an exceedingly significant ridiculousness, which can easily be seen. So one must assume the centre of every body, thus also that of the earth, only as an ideal dot, which is already correctly defined according to your mathematical terms, as something which permits neither in length, nor in width, nor in thickness, also only the conceivably smallest possible diameter, thus is certainly in its kind the most minute of all things. And you can certainly assume that already in an atomic creature, which not even the strongest solar microscope is able to discover, there would certainly still be room for countless billions of such points. The question therefore is, what would we have to reveal of this endlessly small being, which disappears so quite actually into the barest nothingness? One could only say, the centre of the earth consists of nothing. Then it would be already completely natural and spiritually revealed. The nothingness is both physically and spiritually considered synonymous, because where nothingness is, there everything naturally ends, and a nothingness is naturally and spiritually also really conceivable in nothing else than in such a mathematical centre of measure. For which reason, we want to distance ourselves from this insignificant centre of the earth, and want to turn the extremely important centre of gravity of the earth, which of course must be more voluminous, and with such a large body as the earth is, also of a significantly voluminous extension, in order to give the correspondingly acting impact on its peculiar world-body life activity. I can already see it in you, through and through, that you are already asking within yourselves, what does this centre of gravity of the earth look like? What does it consist of? Is it a diamond lump? Or is it pure gold or iron or even magnet? Or is it even a hollow space, filled with nothing but an eternally unquenchable fire, and serves perhaps even for the stay of the damned, and carries the respectable title Hell, of which the fire-breathing mountains scattered here and there on earth are, in a way, chimneys? There, I say, there is no question of all this in the centre of gravity of the earth. Just as little as physically taken with the heart of a man, there can be a question of all this. The heart is neither a diamond nor a gold nugget, nor is it iron and magnetic stone. The heart is not a hollow space filled with fire, but physically seen, it is an extremely artistic, cellular fabric, within which the living soul, and in it the spirit of man, is and can be active, like a weaver on his loom. Because this loom is arranged for the formation of the natural life, and for the temporary preservation thereof, in such a way that through its artistic construction, everything can be produced by the hands of the soul, which is necessary for the representation of the physical life. Once this loom has become unskilled in its natural construction in something, then it does not go quite right with the production of the physical life any more. But if it has finally become completely inept and unskillful, then the soul can no longer use it, and it is time for it to leave this vain workshop. Behold, the very same thing is the centre of gravity of the earth. How? That will be the subject of our next consideration.